Good morning and welcome to today's episode of Leon County Today with Sheriff Walt McNeil. And Sheriff, a very timely topic we're talking about today. We're in that season right now where income tax season is here. Stimulus checks are being deposited in accounts, and financial fraud is really a big topic right now.
It is. It's probably one of the most difficult crimes for us to get a handle on because it's a universal kind of crime. You can be in Timbuktu and make deposits or withdrawals from someone's account right here in Tallahassee. And so we are really trying to get this message out to our community about how you can fortify yourself against these people out there perpetrating this crime on the internet. It's a whole new game for us. And as you perhaps know, it's gone up year after year after year. The rate of crimes committed using the internet is just staggering. And we've got to try to get our citizens engaged in stopping that. Stimulus checks, you talked about stimulus checks. That perhaps is the worst situation you could find yourself in need of a stimulus check, and then some person coming around and taking advantage of you during particularly this time. And Shauna, we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic and the outbreak here in Florida that the fraud cases increased tremendously in our community. And I understand you've got some stats how it increased across the country.
Yeah, I read the Federal Trade Commission says that during the pandemic in 2020, fraud cases went up by 45%. So very significant, and because so many online transactions were happening, definitely during the lockdown down season. And even still now, I was just sharing before the show that this past weekend, I got a call from my bank saying, did you just transfer $100 to another bank account? And they luckily shut my debit card down before more transactions could be made. So it's very real, and most people have experienced it in some way or another.
Well, we're going to hear today from a guest on our show that's got a first-hand experience, not only having been the victim, but then he turned around to law enforcement to see if he can get some assistance and help him. It's going to be interesting to see hear his story today.
Absolutely. We've got a great story, and there's so many different facets to this. You've got the what they call the Casanova Scam. You've got the skimmers on gas pumps, and so we have to be really vigilant, and this show is really going to give some great advice to folks out there.
Absolutely. The seniors particularly. You talk about that Casanova Scam. That's one I wasn't aware of, but the name kind of gives it away.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. All right, we're going to dig deep into that topic today, so be sure to stick around, everyone. Coming up next, we're going to hear from someone who was a victim of identity theft, and we're going to find out what you need to do to protect yourself. But first, let's check in with Deputy McMillan with your Crime Tip Tuesday.
Hello everyone, this is your Public Information Officer, Deputy Shade McMillan with Leon County Sheriff's Office, and here's today's Crime Tip Tuesday. Everyone has received their tax documents by this time of year. Here are some tips to prevent tax season fraud. File your taxes early. It's important to have all your paperwork ready before criminals do in order to protect yourself. Don't fall for scams. The IRS will only ask for your information by mail. So if someone calls or emails claiming to be from the IRS asking for personal information, don't give it. Research your tax preparer. Only hire individuals who have proper IRS credentials and keep copies of your tax paperwork even after filing. Shred your personal tax documents. Destroy old tax forms, monthly financial statements, and other documents that include your personal information once deemed unnecessary. Have a great day. Hello everyone, this is Deputy Shade McMillan, your Public Information Officer for the Leon County Sheriff's Office, and here's today's Crime Tip Tuesday. Spring break is in full swing this week for students. Here are some tips to keep our children safe during this time. Have your children check in with you during the day. Make sure you know they are in a safe place. Know who they are hanging out with and who is driving when traveling. Let neighbors know when children will be home alone to watch for suspicious activity. Make sure your child knows how to contact you in any emergency. Have a great week and have a safe one.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
In times of stress, such as quarantine, what goes on behind closed doors can be terrifying, but you don't have to suffer in silence. Help is here. Love is not controlling. Love is not frightening. And love is not violent. Love is respect. If you need assistance or just want to talk, we are here. Contact the Domestic Abuse Hotline at 800-500-1119 to speak to someone in your area. For more information, visit thedvcc.org.
In every family, small conversations can make a big impact. I grew up on tour with my parents. Kind of different, but we bonded over music and we talked. Honest conversations, like when my dad shared his experiences as an alcoholic. Your honesty gave me a sense of integrity that I wanted in my own life.
And I wanted you to know, from someone who's been in recovery more than 30 years now, that hard work is what creates success, not alcohol or other drugs, in whatever you do.
Talk, they hear you.
Joining me now is Diop Camille, Chairman of the Leon County Sheriff's Office Citizen Advisory Council. When you joined the council, you mentioned that you'd been a victim of identity theft in the past. Tell us about that experience, Diop.
Well, first it was just devastating because when someone can get in your personal business like that, you feel powerless, you feel confused. It was, the person didn't just take over my finances, he took over my entire business. So pretty much every time I logged in online, I had something to worry about. So I had files being deleted, charges being made on my credit cards, and it got to a point where I knew it was beyond my control, so I had to turn to law enforcement at that point. And
the things they were able to get involved with in your account, well, you had to go back and change all your account numbers, or how was the extent of the experience?
Well, it got so bad that my wife made me get a book because I had to change my passwords literally every day.
Oh, wow.
And then I had to get a password changer, like an app that would recreate passwords all the time, because I didn't know where the entries were coming in from. And I think that for most people, that's the most important thing. People don't know that every time you log in online and you send something or receive something or go to a web page, you're registering an IP address. And what I didn't notice for a long time is that the IP addresses showing up on my accounts were not mine. It took some time for the police to figure that out, and they only did that after combing through like thousands of entries. They saw a pattern, and ultimately one of the detectives traced it to Washington, D.C., to the girlfriend's home of a former employee. So I didn't know how they were doing it, and frankly, what people don't know as well is that it's not their fault, it's not the consumer's fault. There are systems, there are platforms that are like, some really secure and some are wide open. So if somebody's breaking in, you won't know it, and sometimes the company that you're dealing with won't tell you, and unless you have law enforcement looking into it, it could go on for quite a long time.
So Diop, why do you think you were a victim? And what, since you were a victim, what are the things you did about it? I know you called the police and you got us involved, but what else did you do?
Well, I had to defend myself, and to defend myself, I had to learn more about how I was being attacked. And to move to the most important answer or question is, what did I do to get it to stop? I went to law enforcement, but I also had to change all my devices. I moved from Android devices to a Mac. That helped. I shut down all my accounts. But it was a 4-year process, and it wasn't like it happened overnight. This person was able to, even my wife, who's an actress, they were deleting her auditions. So it was like having a financial impact, and then they were terrorizing my clients. They were, because once you get somebody's information, you could send them something like it was me, and it wasn't. So I had clients claiming, what's going on with your company? So at the point that I felt it was really getting out of control, the first thing I had to do is, and I think people should know this, you should find out what your own IP address is. It's unique, and it'll tell you if you're the one that's logging into your accounts. Number two, it's important to use companies that have what's called double verification. A lot of internet accounts are not secure, and sometimes you'll see in the top window of the frame of the bar on a website, it says not secure. That's for a reason. What you should do is deal with sites that have what's called SSL protection. That's a way for the internet to show that this site has a certificate. It's actually who you think it is. I didn't know a lot of this stuff. I had to learn it along the way. And then the other thing is you shouldn't use the same information. Don't use the same password. If you ask you what the names are for your usernames or other things, don't keep using the same names. Yeah. And I learned all those things as a result of just being hammered for about 5 years.
We've got about a minute left, Diop. What one bit of advice would you give people out there?
I would say don't be careless online, and don't assume that it's safe, because it's not. And don't click anything that you don't know where that thing is coming from, because I think that's ultimately how they got into my computer. And what people need to know is if they know your social for this account and they know your mother's maiden name for this account, that means all your other accounts that are using that same information are vulnerable. So when I learned that, I shut everything down and I started listening to my wife, and I got careful and got smart.
Diop, thank you for sharing that information. It's certainly going to be helpful. I know some of our listeners out there will take some of the things you said to heart and maybe make those changes. Next up, Leon County expert who has more tips about avoiding financial fraud. Stay with us.
Here's to the things that can keep us safe. Those we use all the time with hardly a thought. Those that are silently standing by to save our lives. And now, those that we carry with us everywhere we go. Many mobile devices will now bring you wireless emergency alerts, real-time information directly from local sources you know and trust. With the unique sound and vibration, you'll be in the know, wherever you are.
Before you throw away those unused medicines,
those pills for your back pain or migraines,
just think for a minute. When you throw them in the trash, they can become lethal in the wrong hands.
There are better ways to dispose of your unused meds.
There are lots of police stations, local pharmacies, and hospitals that are approved to take in unused meds
and dispose of them safely, so they don't end up in the wrong hands, our hands.
To find a medicine disposal site near you, visit www.safe.pharmacy.
I'm Andrew Saul, Commissioner of Social Security. Beware of telephone scammers pretending to be government employees. Real Social Security employees will never threaten you. Callers threatening you with arrest or other legal action and demanding money are not from us. If you receive a call like this, hang up, do not provide them with any form of payment or information. Report the call at oig.ssa.gov.
We're back with LCSO Deputy Shade McMillan talking about financial fraud. Shade, prior to law enforcement experience, you worked at a bank and you investigated financial crimes since you've been with the Leon County Sheriff's Office. Tell us about your experience with financial crime.
Well, Sheriff, thank you for having me on today. Before I came to the Leon County Sheriff's Office as a deputy, I worked in the financial institution realm of the world, and I was a teller as well as a personal banker, and I was able to see financial fraud firsthand. I saw it at the very inset of it when people, back when we didn't have a lot of internet commerce, but I still dealt with folks that still had their credit card stole, or a lot of banking information was being stolen because a lot of people still had paper statements being sent to their house. Now, nowadays everything is kind of it's more electronic. Ways that you can be not a victim are try to go paperless. With these financial institutions, nowadays they really, as a conservation effort, they really want you to go paperless. Well, on the safety side of that keeps your information from out in the stratosphere, also keeps you from throwing it away in the garbage, which a lot of people can get that information from your garbage.
Absolutely. Shade, one of the things that I get letters or emails on a regular basis from citizens who say, I've been the victim of financial crime, but you guys can't do anything about it. So what do we tell a person who perhaps lives in Tallahassee, but the financial crime that occurred took place from somebody in New York City, and they feel like we can't get the job done? What do we tell them?
Well, as always, if you are a victim of any kind of financial crime, contact your local law enforcement. Usually when it comes down to jurisdictional issues where the crime might have actually occurred in New York or overseas, we will try to transfer that information to the proper authorities to follow up with your case.
Yeah, there's a new one out there I just learned about for this program, quite honestly, the Casanova Scam.
Yes.
Tell me about the Casanova Scam.
Well, Sheriff, the Casanova Scam basically has to do with relationships. These folks prey upon social media applications, be it dating sites or Facebook or anything like that, where there's a chat module, and they will actually prey upon folks single that are looking for companionship. Well, in talking to the folks over these apps, they befriend them. They basically give them the insinuation that they want a relationship with them. And the crook is always, well, I can't get to you unless you send me some money so I can get a plane ticket. I'm across the country and I don't have a car, so the only way I can get to you is if you send me money or send me your information where I can buy a ticket. And unfortunately, these folks fall prey to these tactics, and they give that information because now they feel like they're in a relationship with this person. So unfortunately, they fall victim to this, and most of the time they never hear from that person again.
Shade, what makes these persons an easy target?
Very trustworthy. Also, they don't tend to understand that giving this information out, Sheriff, to someone that you do not trust and have never met is probably one of the worst things you can do. You never want to give your information out, whether that be your social security number or a banking account or a credit card number, to any untrustworthy source. Most of the times you order stuff online, those sites are encrypted to keep from that information from happening, but the minute you give that very important information to someone else or an individual, that individual now has control over a lot of your information.
Yeah, Shade, I had this experience myself, but these skimmers that they have at the pumps at these service stations, I actually became victim of that about 3 or 4 years ago myself. What do you tell people out there about how to fortify themselves at the gas pump against the skimmers when they use their credit cards?
Well, I think the biggest thing is, if you really want to guard against your credit card information being stolen by these skimmers, pay inside. If you're buying gas, which is where most of the time these skimmers are prevalent, go inside and pay with cash, or use a credit card at the pay at pump. Debit information is a way into your banking account. Whereas if you use an actual credit card, an actual Visa or a MasterCard or a company like that, there's more safeguards, and they can only draft so much off of that card. Whereas when you use your debit card, now that person that has skimmed that information off that card can get into your actual bank account. Another thing is, where you slide your card in, take and tug on it. Most of these apparatuses that are on these machines are merely just stuck on the outside of that slot. Tug that slot, and if that seems okay, also look for the tags. There's also security tags that are placed around, and stickers placed around the edges of where you stick your card in that show that this machine has not been tampered with.
Thank you, Shade. Just ahead, we continue our Women's History Month series with a leader who has served on the battlefields of our country as well as in our local community. Stay tuned.
I drive 65,000 miles each year in my bus. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. You don't want to be in the blind spot of a 40,000-pound bus when I have less than a second to react. I do what I can by changing lanes and taking turns slowly. It really helps when people look out for me too. Give me room to operate safely. It's our roads, it's our safety.
Here you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Some things in your medicine cabinet are more dangerous than others. When it comes to prescription drugs, opioid pain medicines can be addictive and even deadly. Half the people who misuse prescription pain medicines get them from a friend or family member. Be part of the solution. Go through your medicine cabinets, drawers, anywhere you keep unused opioid pills, patches, or syrups. Find out how to dispose of them safely. Visit fda.gov/drug disposal.
My name is Lakeisha Snow, Lieutenant in the Risk Management, and I'm also the FTO Coordinator. I started here, it'll be 21 years in June, on June 9th, 2000 to be exact. I came here straight out of the Marine Corps. I left for the Marine Corps 2 days after I graduated high school because I wanted to do something different. I wanted, quite frankly, just to get out of Tallahassee, and I wanted to see the world, and I got to do that. I got out of the Marine Corps in 1999, and I joined the Florida Army National Guard, where I remained for the last 21 years. I retired in August of last year, as a matter of fact. I was a logistician in the enlisted ranks. That's actually called a motor vehicle operator, and essentially all I did was I moved the Marine Corps' people, I moved their equipment from A to B and back. I came to the National Guard as a sergeant. I then decided, I might want a little bit more out of this thing, so let me try this OCS thing. I never wanted to be an officer. I wanted to be an old honorary sergeant major, So So I went to OCS, and I graduated OCS in 2007, where again, I was now I'm a logistician. Basically, I plan and how I'm gonna move, where I'm gonna move, air, rail, sea, or line haul, quite frankly. Moving the Army's heaviest equipment, moving their people from points A to B and back. I did my first tour in Iraq from 2004 to 2005 as a sergeant, and it was different. Not what I think the layperson expects. There were some dangers, but for the most part, it was us moving supplies, keeping the foot soldiers, if you will, the infantrymen in the fight, moving bullets, beans, and Band-Aids to keep those guys in the fight. I was actually a gun truck commander, and so essentially what I did was I escort civilian tractor trailers back and forth from Kuwait to points northern in Iraq and back. I think needing services as a youth myself gave me that drive. I think I turned out all right. Well, I'll let other folk judge that, but I wouldn't be sitting where I am today had not I received some of the services as a young youth that I did, some of the people that stepped into my life and quite frankly demanded that I do better than my current situation, if that makes sense. And so, life was hard as a young child, but I'm thankful for every obstacle, because every single obstacle taught me something. If nothing else, it taught me or helped me get over the next obstacle. Growing up in a single family household on the south side of Tallahassee, Appalachian Ridge Estates, I went to what was then Leonard Wesson Elementary School. And that in itself was tough. Being, you're from one of the poorest zip codes in Leon County. I don't know if it was then, but it is now. And so that alone in itself brought different challenges, if that makes sense. There was poverty all around me. I would imagine, although I didn't know it, we were probably living impoverished. But I'll tell you, it was my school resource deputies back at Fairview Middle School that actually got me interested, if you will, in being deputy sheriffs. I admired the way they carried themselves. I admired that green polyester uniform. I admired the way they went above and beyond to help students and faculty alike that, may have been dealing with any variety of the issues that life throws at us on a daily basis. So it was a career that I admired, and because I've always kind of wanted to help people, because I came up needing help myself. And there were people that reached out to me, and they didn't leave me alone until I got where I needed to be. And so I appreciated that. And I think most of it was a part of just giving back. I knew I wasn't going to save the world, but if I could save one or two, then I've done something.
Why? Why do we ignore the things that give us pause, that seem out of place, that don't feel right? The answer to why defines who we are. So if you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my friends.
For my community.
For my family.
For each other.
Because all of this matters. We all have something worth protecting.
So why do you see safe?
Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
In times of stress, such as quarantine, what goes on behind closed doors can be terrifying, but you don't have to suffer in silence. Help is here. Love is not controlling. Love is not frightening. And love is not violent. Love is respect. If you need assistance or just want to talk, we are here. Contact the Domestic Abuse Hotline at 800-500-1119 to speak to someone in your area. For more information, visit thedvcc.org.
I've been driving a truck for 40 years now. If people knew what I know, lives could be saved. Like the trucks can't stop quickly. It takes my 80,000-pound truck 200 yards to come to a complete stop. So I always do my best to give a lot of cushion. It helps when other drivers realize that and do the same. Please give trucks the space we need so we can all stay safe. It's our roads, it's our safety.
Every year, the Salvation Army serves nearly 30 million people in need. That's one person every second. So by the time you've finished watching this, 30 more lives will have been changed for good. All thanks to your donations.
Thank you.
Give today.
Natural disasters are a fact of life in the U.S. And between activities and school, chances are you won't be with your kids when they happen. Will they know what to do? Ready.gov/kids can help your children feel prepared, not scared. So talk with your family today.
Welcome back to you. And Sheriff, we got to meet one of our newly promoted captains during our Deputy on Duty segment, Captain Lakeisha Snow, and she is phenomenal.
She is absolutely an outstanding captain. And I've known Captain Snow since she was a little girl, you might say. She and I attend the same church. Her grandmother, Sister Coggins, if she were alive today, she'd be very, very proud of Captain Snow and the job she's doing with Leon County Sheriff's Office. You know, having served our country in the military and then coming back to Tallahassee and joining the Leon County Sheriff's Office just speaks volumes of her devotion. And we're just really excited about her career and what she adds to the Leon County Sheriff's Office family. Just like you said, a phenomenal woman.
Phenomenal woman indeed. And of course, our show topic today, I think many people in our community can relate and in some way have been touched by some type of financial fraud. So it's a reminder to be vigilant with your information.
Yeah, this is the show today. I'm hopeful will touch a lot of folks. They'll see this show and then try to fortify themselves against these Casanovas out there and these skimmers and the online stuff. I mean, we do a lot of our business today online shopping, and we've got to protect ourselves. And quite honestly, law enforcement can only do so much. And it takes our citizens to be all in with us to fight this particular crime.
That's right. As we mentioned earlier, some of those crimes are not originated here. Sometimes it's not even in the country. So we have to be as vigilant as possible because it can be a difficult process to get that figured out.
No question at all. I'm excited. I love the job that our folks are doing. Shade McMillan's shone the light on the fact that our financial crime unit is doing everything they can to fight this crime. But again, we got to do this together.
We do indeed. All right, thank you so much, Sheriff, and thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you here next week.